All right, here we go. It is it's time for our I guess bi-weekly Japan trip vlog. I swear I would love to do these weekly, but just been so busy. I'm dragging myself over to the computer to do this today. I caught, I guess, a late spring, early summer. I guess we're in summer. I caught a summer cold. Came on hard and fast. I'm in like a NyQuil commercial now. Sniffling, sneezing, coughing, all that jazz. So, if there are some coughing fits, I'll try to mute before the coughing gets too intense, or the phlegm, the slime. Anyways, so we're going to do day 4 and 5 today, because day 4 was pretty short, and day 5 was pretty long. So we're just going to kind of put them together and, you know, cover that stuff, see where we end up. All right, so my beautiful wife was keeping track of our steps per day and our weather and all that jazz, which is very neat. So now that they shared their notes about the trip with me, I'm able to kind of talk about that stuff too. Because some people want to know, you know, what was the weather like in April when you went over there? How much walking around did you do? Well, I've got the data now. We got the stats. So day 4, travel to Kanazawa. So we're leaving Tokyo for Kanazawa. We're gonna take I think we're taking a Shinkansen to Kanazawa. So a bullet train. Very exciting stuff. I don't know if I actually have any pictures of us taking the bullet train, but it was pretty cool. It was a little hard to navigate. The bullet trains are on like their own tracks, and they use their own stations. They're kind of like separate from the other trains. They're like the elite trains, I guess you could say, of train land in Japan. But same as before with the Hitachi Express, since it's a special long-distance train, you are not only allowed to, but encouraged to get like fancy bento box and eat on the train. The train went really, really fast, hence the bullet train nickname. I mean, it was crazy, but an incredibly smooth ride. It really lived up to all of the hype that I had been told about it. As a kid that grew up in Italy and Europe and all that kind of stuff, and you know, I rode trains, and then I had a mom who was afraid of airplanes, so we rode a lot of trains in America. I've dealt with the Amtrak nightmares. I've been on a lot of different trains, a lot of different types of trains. Lived in Seattle for a little while, so I rode the monorails, you know, like, so I like trains. The bullet train surpassed my expectations. It was very, very cool, very beautiful. So the journey was pretty much traveling to Tokyo main station, finding the Shinkansen, getting some lunch, hopping on the Shinkansen, riding it up to Kanazawa station. So that was relatively easy. It did start to rain and get windy, and then our overpriced convenience store umbrellas were going to be put to the test. All right, so when we arrived in Kanazawa, I had been advised by a YouTube video to stay in the town of Mikwawa, because Mikwawa is quote-unquote right outside of Kanazawa, and it's more affordable, and it gives you a different perspective on the region. I was also led to believe by this video that Kanazawa was kind of rural and small. That is not true. Kanazawa is a big-ass city. It is a big-ass city. It has a lot of historical stuff, but the travel videos that I watched, they all made it seem like it was permanent samurai times all the time, and that there was gold on everything, everywhere you went. And none of that was true about Kanazawa, but we'll get into that. Also, Mikwawa was very small and rural, and kind of felt like you were stepping back in time. but it was also not quote unquote right outside of Kanazawa. It was a 20-minute rural train ride outside of Kanazawa. Yeah. So we get to Kanazawa and we need to do laundry. And we don't know if the accommodations are going to allow us to do laundry. We don't think they're going to allow us to do laundry. So we're like, we should find a laundromat. So we did. On the way to the laundromat, a storm dropped on us, and the wind was so bad it broke 2 of our 3 umbrellas. That's how bad the wind was. But we made it into this very nice laundromat, and using AI Assistant, translated all the stuff. We learned how to do laundry in Japan. We learned that they use gas-powered dryers to be more economical for energy. But as Americans, who are used to having, I don't know, nuclear-powered drying machines that use up all of Japan's energy for a whole year in a single day, I don't know. We were like, damn, it take a long time to dry your clothes. So we were kind of stuck at this laundromat for a long time, just having to run these, like, every dryer. Fortunately, there was, like, no one else using it. It was also here that we ate some of our, we bought, like, too many bento boxes for breakfast. And so we had bento boxes for lunch, too. And we just kind of hung out in the laundromat, watching the rain outside the window, doing laundry. It was pretty cool. So we also found out that maybe Mikwawa was so rural that they wouldn't take Passmo cards. So I had to figure out how to buy paper tickets. Yeah, I had to get paper tickets just in case they didn't have Passmo in Mikwawa Station to get off the train. And that was a whole thing because we hadn't had to buy paper tickets ever, I don't think. We had paper tickets, but we bought them online before the trip, and I just had to go and pick them up from the robot. But this was actually having to navigate the menus, find the right trains, and this is when we started using the JR Rail app. Is really when the JR Rail app started to come online, and we were like, oh wow, this is a really good app. Holy shit, we should be using this the whole time. But we did finally get the paper tickets, and we did successfully do our laundry. You could see in the top right, 59 minutes to get this clothes washed and quote-unquote dried. And then once they were quote-unquote dried, we had to take them, and if we swivel the camera to the right, you would see a wall of dryers. And then we just used every single dryer they had to dry our clothes because we were like, we'd like to get the clothes done today. Yeah, so it was a whole thing. So after we survived a storm and did our laundry, we headed back to the train station to buy those paper tickets I mentioned. We got the greatest apple juice in Japan. Again, apple juice, so good in Japan. I bought some apple juice from the store when I got back to America. I just cried while I drank it, thinking about what I had lost. They say it's better to have loved and lost than never have loved at all, but I feel like spending the rest of your life with an empty place in your heart and longing at the edge of your consciousness, maybe that's worse. Maybe it would have been better to never know about the greatest apple juice. I don't know. Sorry, I'm being over dramatic. It's because I'm on a lot of cold medication. Okay, so while I was off trying to buy tickets, my wife and child were approached by a furry mascot, allegedly, dressed like some kind of bird, wearing a police officer's outfit, and they handed them out some tissues. The tissues were a quest item that was written in a language no one could understand, obviously. We did get an explanation finally out of the AI. Her first instinct was like to make some stuff up because she's a fucking liar. But then I was like, I don't think that's true. Here's the context of how we got it. Can you just give me an honest assessment of what they are? And she's like, oh, sorry. So these tissues are trying to educate children and women about human trafficking. Yeah. So a cute mascot character is handing out free tissues to remind you, don't get human trafficked, everybody. So that was a little sinister. We also, to celebrate doing laundry, not being human trafficked, and getting paper train tickets, we went to McDonald's. Now, I told you I grew up in Italy. I've done a lot of traveling. Every country that I've ever been to that has a McDonald's, it's the most bougie and incredible experience of my life. I will never forget my favorite McDonald's in the whole world, which is in Rome, Italy. And it has fountains and statues. There's tile mosaics on the floor of the wall. And the ceiling is painted like the 16th Chapel ceiling, okay? Like, this place is fucking nice, all right? When they give you a Big Mac, it is not the Big Mac from the advertisements, because a food artist could not recreate the quality of Big Mac that they would serve you at McDonald's Rome, Italy, okay? I asked my father as a child, I said, why is it that McDonald's is so good overseas but not in America? And he said, because the rest of the world knows how to hold companies accountable. Yep. Basically, if you're an American business and you go over to a country that actually gives a shit and you show up with your American quality food, they tell you to get the fuck out. They're like, just go home. We don't need you here. Yeah. And Japan McDonald's was no exception. Japan McDonald's was phenomenal. Everything we ordered, which was just fries and these fancy shakes, were incredible. They were incredible. This shake, I would have paid in America like $15 to get this shake from an upscale like cafe, no doubt. But it was, in my opinion, a pretty reasonable. You could see 510 yen might seem like a lot of money, but remember that like 1,000 yen was only like $7. So like we're talking about like less than $4. I got this top tier, like top shelf, like frap. Man, it was fucking good. Anyways, then we hopped on the train and we rode to Mikwawa. Now, what was interesting about the train and the time of day that we took it is that it was full of children coming home from school. Now, these are the same children that they don't want them being human trafficked, okay? But they don't have like public buses like for kids. They don't have school buses, right? Like, if you are a kid going to school, it's your responsibility to get to and from school. And your parents are like working their jobs and living their life, so they're not going to take your ass to school. So these kids are riding the train in and out of the city in the morning and in the afternoon by themselves, navigating their way through it. And it was really cool to see, like, that sort of like independent culture. I think about the American youth, and how like helicopter, mom and dad we've become, not letting them do fucking anything anymore. And over there, you've got kids just like navigating the subway system, like riding a train like to a city that they don't even live in just to go to school. It's just a different culture, different way of doing it. So we arrive in Mikwawa, and Mikwawa looks like it could be the scene of a Japanese Stephen King horror movie. It's a sleepy fishing town in the middle of nowhere, and there's a bad storm rolling in, and we're trying to find our bed and breakfast, essentially. And there was a sign that we couldn't read because of the storm right outside of the train station, which did take Passmo, by the way. And it said Mikwawa B&B check-in, ? Come over here. But obviously we didn't see that because there was a storm. And we're closing our eyes against the piercing rain. So we're dragging all of our suitcases, I want to say 5 blocks through this small fishing village where we don't see any people because who the hell is going to be out in this weather? And we get to Mikwawa B&B. There's no lock on the front door. They're just like, come on in if you want. And so we did, and when we walked in, we see what's right next to me in the frame here, a shrine that's like, welcome to our bed and breakfast. Here are the slippers that you're supposed to wear. They're behind me. I can't really move out of the way to show you, but they're there. It was kind of weird. There was bicycles that you could use. There was umbrellas that you could use. And we waited around until a very old woman and a very old man, who both look like they could be the main characters in a Japanese Stephen King horror story. They show up. They don't speak like any English, and then we're using like translation and my 20 words of Japanese, and we're like getting through it. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, "Oh, but like, didn't you see the sign at the train station?" And we're like, "Nah, it was fucking raining." So I get a hold of the property manager's secretary, who we think lived in Vietnam, maybe, and she speaks English, and she just keeps saying, like, "Don't worry, I'm going to contact the president." The president, capital T, capital P. And I'm like, okay, that's the president of Japan? I'm assuming no. I'm assuming the president of your property rental company? Question mark? So the old man and the old lady, we get vetted that we're okay, right? And then they're like, "Oh, well, you know, other people canceled. Do you want an upgrade to your room for free?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we get upgraded from a little tiny loft bedroom in the main house to having our own house. You could see in the right-hand picture here. We got our own house separate from the main house, and that was actually pretty cool. Like, to have our own house to live in, that was pretty neat. And it was not a big house. It was literally one-room house with a loft and a bathroom. But I realized immediately this is all that I would ever need to live, ever. I don't need anything else in my life. I just need one room, a loft area, and a bathroom. That's it. That's all I need. So, oh yeah. So this picture is actually showing the main house. It doesn't actually show. This is taken from the window of the little house that we were in. Yeah. Inside, yeah. So it was very nice. It was very nice accommodations. The lady was very sweet. The old lady. The old man was very sweet. They explained that we could have as much, you know, continental breakfast food as we wanted, 24/7. And then, you know, the mysterious woman who we were talking to on WhatsApp, that was like, "The president is coming for you. The president will be here soon. The president wants to meet you." And I'm like, cool. And she's like, "Where do you want to eat? Here are some places." And I'm like, "I don't know, that place." And she's like, "Oh, you're going to need the president's help if you're going to that one." And I'm like, "Sure, give us the president." So the president shows up, and we are remiss in that we did not take a selfie with this man. We did not get a picture of him at all. So, like, in this rural, like, fishing village in the middle of nowhere, the president arrives, and the president is like this smiling, like, used car salesman, like, Japanese man. He's got a tan. He's got the gold chain. He's got some chest hair showing because his polo shirt's unbuttoned. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a firm handshake. He speaks like 200 words of English. You know what I mean? And we're like having a good time, him and I. We're talking it out. You know, he's like, "Wow, an American that can speak any Japanese at all? I respect you a lot." And it's like, "Wow, that's cool, thanks." And then he's like, "Oh, I see you want to eat here for dinner. You're going to need my help for that. You're going to need my help for that one. So I know the owner, don't worry. I'll drive you there. Because the weather's bad, I'll drive you there." So we're like, okay. So he takes us outside, and in Japan, you have small cars. You have small cars. The president's car was fucking huge, all right? He had this huge fucking car, and he's like, "Hop in." And then he drove us, like, through the town towards the ocean. And then I'm like, I have a very good sense of direction, so I'm memorizing, like, the route and the direction and all that kind of stuff for later, in case we decide to walk home. And I'm like, "There's no restaurants here. Like, these are all fishing shanties." You know what I mean? Like, I play Dungeons and Dragons. This is the fishing shanty part of the port city. You know what I mean? This is where we're gonna get jumped by the local were-rat thieves guild. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't civilization. And then he sees a cat, and he's like, "Oh, there's the cat. We're here." I'm like, "There's the cat? There's the cat? We're here?" So he parks the car, and he's like, "Come on." And we go to this door, this unmarked door on the side of a row of fishing shanties, and the cat is waiting by the door, and he opens the door, and the cat goes inside, and we're like, what's going on? He's like, oh, the cat works here. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we go inside, and that is the menu board. The menu board is literally just a mad scrawl of a person who is like, this is what I feel like making for dinner. And it is indecipherable. And I'm just like, and we have no internet either. There's no cell signal out here. There's no Wi-Fi signal. There's nothing. So like, if we had tried to come here without the president, we wouldn't have had any translation tools to help us. It was crazy. So I'm just like, I don't know, man. Order whatever's good. He's like, you want everything? I was like, I mean, okay. He's like, oh, everything on the menu? Okay. So I'm getting ready. I'm like, whoo, this is gonna hurt. This is financially gonna destroy me. But all right, yeah, fucking order everything, bro. Get everything that's good. I want everything that's good. So while we're ordering the food, and he's introducing me to the owner, the owner's wife, and either the owner's eldest daughter or the owner's sister-in-law or sister, not 100%. That was the staff that worked there. There were some locals, and the locals were just drinking sake and having fish and watching soccer, like having it in baseball, having a good time. And this cat, whose name is Umi, which I think is Plum, just fell in love with my wife. And this often happens with my wife and cats, because my wife doesn't like cats. So cats love my wife because they know that my wife doesn't love cats. And so she just hopped into my wife's lap, and she just stayed there the whole night, just purring and snuggling and having a great time. This is incredible. This is incredible. It doesn't make any sense. So they bring out the food, which included blowfish sushi, which was on my bucket list of things to try. Now, if you know about blowfish sushi, you know that it's got that reputation, right? That if it's not made right, you'll die. What better place to try blowfish sushi than the middle of nowhere, where there are no doctors, there's no hospital, and this is a mom and pop, hole in the wall shanty restaurant. This is where I decided, let's have blowfish sushi. Let's fucking go. And I'm still alive, obviously, and it was incredible. It was incredibly delicious. You can see from the picture above my head that they did, in fact, order everything on the menu. And we had every type of fish and seafood and shellfish, everything that you could imagine. I ate the entire ocean. I was eating fish with their heads still on. I was eating pickled fish with the bones still in it. I was eating everything. Everything. I ate it all. I was trying to be very polite because this was like, you know, this is their life's work, right? Well, apparently we really impressed them. I also drank a shitload of sake, warm sake. When I told the president that I liked warm sake more than cold sake, his whole face lit up, and he gave me a firm handshake, and he said, that's good. That's good. Yeah, you're a man. And I was like, I am a man. I mean, you wouldn't know if you watch my VODs, because I use a big titty demon girl for a VTuber, mostly just to fuck with people. But yes, I am a man. I love warm sake. I didn't tell him that I was cheating, that I take medication that makes me immune to the effects of alcohol, but I drank so much sake that it was like when Legolas was having a drinking contest with Gimli. I was like, at the end, I was like, I can feel something happening. And I must have drank like maybe 2 bottles of warm sake, and I was like, I think I can feel something. A little bit, a little tingle at the edge of my mind. It was so good. The people were so nice. It was a magical evening, honestly. It was one of the most surreal. It was like, it reminded me of backpacking across Europe without a plan and just stumbling upon incredible things. They were so happy that we had spent a shitload of money, obviously, and we're very polite, and you know, we're doing everything we could to try and have conversation and use our 20 words of Japanese and all that jazz. None of them spoke any English at all. So they gave us a souvenir. So they gave us like this beautiful porcelain sake drinking bowl, drinking cup, that we still have on display at our house. It was just amazing. The night was amazing. The rain let up. We headed out into the dark night of this spooky seaside fishing village. And because I couldn't get drunk and because I have a great sense of direction, I was able to guide us back through the winding streets of this fishing village in the dark to our lodging. It was really nice. And then as soon as we got in, the hail started. So it really, everything just kind of worked out like really, really well. We got a great night's sleep. We woke up and it was time to head into Kanazawa proper. So it was still cloudy, it was still windy, but it really ended up clearing up by the end of the day. It ended up being a very beautiful day overall. And I think this might have been the second most steps we had in a single day. We walked 9.39 miles and climbed 64 flights of stairs. Yeah, kind of crazy. We did a lot today in Kanazawa. So, step one, we woke up in Mikwawa. We tried to go to the pharmacy because I was still sunburned pretty bad from Hibachi Seaside Park. But their pharmacy was closed, maybe forever. So it's, again, good that the blowfish didn't kill me. But while we were walking away from the place, we looked down a side street and we saw an entire ass shrine just there. This shrine was like the nicest structure in all of Mikwawa, and it had like gardens and it had statues and it had all this like beautiful stuff to see. And then at the shrine part, you could like donate to the shrine to get a fortune monkey, and the fortune monkey had a fortune in its asshole. And you would pull the fortune out of its asshole, and then it would tell you what the fortune was. And we used translation tool, we figured out what the fortune was. I ended up with like very good fortune, which is fun to hear. Basil had okay fortune, and Jen had very bad fortune. But the Japanese have thought of everything. So when you have a bad fortune, you just tie it to, there's like a rack. You could kind of see it in the picture just to the left of my head. But there's like a rack where you can tie your fortune and leave the bad fortune behind at the shrine. So that's what we did. It was really cool. And of all the shrines I went to in Japan, this one by far had the cutest like shrine toys. I don't want to call them toys, but trinkets. These monkeys were so cute. And I was convinced that my monkey was good luck and was making sure that the trip was lucky. So I carried that monkey with me everywhere for the rest of the trip. Even until I got back to America, I was toting that monkey around. Honestly, I could probably use that monkey's luck now. I should be carrying it around in my pocket. I've got it right next to me on my desk, but maybe I need to pull some more luck out of that monkey. All right, so then we rode the train back to Kanazawa, and then we found a pharmacy in Kanazawa, and it was very cool. And we found the greatest sunscreen, or not sunscreen, but sunburn cream ever. This is like a miracle drug, the sunscreen, or sun cream. I put it on, immediate relief. By the end of the day, my sunburn was gone. I would swear by this product. Hashtag sponsored if they wanted to if they needed somebody to talk about how good this product is. I don't know why you can't get it anywhere else but Japan, but it was like a miracle drug. Anyways, so we make it to Kanazawa Castle, and Kanazawa Castle, very, very cool. Lots of hills, lots of pathways, lots of parks. Apparently there is a type of bird called a kite, and it is a hawk that has learned to steal food from people by dive bombing and stealing your food. So there were these signs everywhere that told you to watch out for them. This is not foreshadowing. We did not get attacked by a kite, even though I did eat some food out in the open, tempting a kite to possibly attack me. It didn't work. We wandered around, we climbed a lot of trails, we looked at a lot of ruins, we looked at a lot of historical sites. It was very cool. Then we found a place that was on our bucket list, which was these gardens. And these gardens, they're the Kenrokuin Gardens, and basically they are a recreation, a historically accurate recreation of what these gardens were like, I think during like the 16th century or something like that. And basically, you could, for like $3, have a tea ceremony, just like the emperor or the shogun's like girlfriend would have had like way back in the day. So we had authentic green tea, like 16th century style green tea, which was essentially grass, but I drank it all. And then we had this special dessert, which was, I mean, it tasted like flowers, because it was. And I ate all that too, goddammit. And we sat in like the proper, like, you know, heels under your butt, like position, which when you're a big man who doesn't sit like that normally, it was pretty rough. It was pretty uncomfortable. But I really wanted to like keep the experience as authentic as possible. The lady who was assisting us with the ceremony, she seemed like really impressed that we were like trying to sit the right way and eat and drink the right way and all that, and you know, it made her really happy. There was another group sharing the viewing pagoda with us that they were just like snarf 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 gug 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 gug. Oh, okay, this is how it was, cool. And then their guides were like, yes, that's how it was. Yeah, but it was awesome. So after this, I was like, all right, castle ruins are all right. I don't want to climb back up this mountain. Is there something cool that we could go to? And then my AI assistant was like, yes, there's a sick ass shrine literally across the street. And so we went to the Oyama shrine right across the street, the Oyama Jinja shrine. And this shrine was incredible. This more than, in my opinion, this more than made up for missing out on the frog shrine 2 days ago, because it had frog stuff and frog spirits and frog charms and all that kind of stuff. There was all these beautiful like displays and gardens and water features and these ancient trees and these like ancient structures and statues. There was like a crane. It just landed, like posed for a photo and like flew away. See, here's like the little frogs. It was awesome. It was awesome. There was like a hill that you could climb that like was overlooking the complex, and like the trees up there were all like old gnarled trees. They looked like they came out of like Secret of Mana. They had like such incredibly intricate root systems and stuff like that, moss growing everywhere. Everything was, as usual, aesthetically pleasing. It was just gorgeous. Everything that they set up, everything that they do, even the plants are on board. Even the plants and animals are like, we gotta look good, guys. If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it right. So I was very happy finding the shrine, and I had a wonderful time there, and it was awesome. One of the things that we found at the shrine was there were these pillars, and when I was asking AI Assistant about the pillars, they explained that they're basically like old-fashioned cell phones. Basically, the pillars would be aimed at the largest temple of that particular faith in Japan. So you could go to like this satellite shrine, but if you needed like big prayers, you could go up the hill and pray at this pillar, and the pillar would send your prayers across Japan to the strongest temple of that particular thing, to make sure that your prayers got heard by the strongest temple. And I guess those strongest temples had their own pillars that would receive the prayers and transfer them for you. I thought that was really, really cool. Yeah. And then we picked up these lucky frog charms, and then we were like hungry, and we decided that we would try to figure out why Japan was so obsessed with Italian food. So we put into the GPS that we want to go to an Italian restaurant. We found an Italian restaurant. We started walking there. But on the way there, we found an Italian restaurant just off the side of the road. And so we were like, okay, let's just go here. And it was this little tiny, like, it basically had like a counter that you sat at and like 2 tables. That's like how big the restaurant was. And we went in, and it was like a French, Italian, Mediterranean fusion cafe or whatever. We got so much delicious food, like lasagna, pizza. I think there was raviolis. We got like a platter with assorted like salads and soups, and I mean, it was really good. It was really good. Coke out of a glass bottle, you know what I'm saying? Like the real classy stuff, you know? And it was delicious. It was absolutely phenomenal. Amazing meal. And then from there, we headed over to the marketplace. So this marketplace is pretty famous, this Kanazawa marketplace. It's known for its seafood. That's like the #1 sell. But this is also where you could get the gold leaf ice cream. And I had to get the gold leaf ice cream. And let me tell you, what does the gold leaf ice cream taste like? It tastes like vanilla soft serve, but somebody put paper on it. That's it. It didn't. Obviously, gold doesn't taste like anything. Gold leaf doesn't taste like anything. But I did get to eat gold leaf ice cream, and it was good. It was good. I also found the Wagyu beef sushi. And basically how this works is you rang a little bell, and a guy came out, and he's like, you want Wagyu beef sushi? And it's like, obviously, that's why I'm here. So they make it right in front of you, and then it's just raw-ass beef, and then they cook it with a blowtorch, and then they put some ginger and wasabi on top, and then they sprinkle some seasoning and, of course, some gold leaf. It was delicious. I was tempted to sit there and just keep giving him money, like, and just keep eating it all day. But I do think it was a little pricey. So you know, just the 2 pieces I had were more than enough. This would have been a great opportunity to have like super fresh and delicious sea urchin. They serve it like in the shell with the spine still attached and all that. But like, I just didn't want to have it. I've had sea urchin before, and I don't like how it tastes. I think it tastes kind of like sour chalk is how I think sea urchin tastes. And I'm not about to have sour chalk again. So I passed on that one. My wife was addicted to Japanese strawberries by this point. And so when we found somebody selling Japanese strawberries, we picked some up. And these are the best strawberries that you will ever eat in your life. So I kind of caution against trying these strawberries, because you're not going to forget how good they taste, and then you're going to try to eat normal strawberries outside of Japan, and it's never going to be the same again. I will say this, the cost of the world's greatest strawberries was in line with the taste. They were very expensive. This was probably the most overpriced thing in Japan. Was if you wanted quality fruit, if you wanted like real nice fruit, it was very expensive. And I remember doing Japanese cultural studies, and they talked about like the inflated price of fruit, and you know, a melon costing like $300 and stuff like that. Yeah, we saw things like that at the market. We saw that there was like, you know, this particular fish is very expensive, or this particular mango is very expensive, and it was like on a special shelf. So that you could see this one particular mango was better than any mango that had ever been mangoed before. But what was interesting is we didn't realize that our dinner reservation was at a reservations-only sushi place in this marketplace. So we left the market and went exploring the Samurai District. So the Samurai District is part of why I was so confused that Takayama might be like an old historical town and not a big-ass city. Because there is a huge section of the city that is kept in like the old like samurai Edo period way. So the buildings are maintained either original buildings or recreations of the buildings to match that era. They have geishas that work out of this area. A lot of historical tours. It was okay. It was a little dry. It was very crowded at all the touristy locations. Like if you wanted to go into like the original samurai house and see what that was like. But there was like a lot of really cool things. This right here was a school, but they opened their gardens to the public when the school was closed, so that you could kind of walk around and see, you know, what they were working on and stuff, which was kind of neat. And then this picture above me, this is from like a park that we found where we kind of sat down to recharge and refuel. Because again, 9.5 miles of walking, 60-something floors of stairs, you know, we were getting a little tired. It was at this point when I was like, we should do something like a little more exciting. So I was like, hey, I know we didn't plan on going to the Pokemon Center in Kanazawa, but what if we did? And so both Jen and Basil were like, oh, hell yeah. So we walked like 10 blocks back to the train station, and there was a department store building nearby. And then we went into the department store building and found the first Pokemon Center of our trip. And it was a little small, but also it was awesome. They had just every plushie you could think of, except the one we were looking for, which was Joltik. They had like a lot of like exclusive stuff, specifically for this Pokemon Center. Got a really adorable Mimikyu that was just a chonk boy, so we were carrying around like this actual size Mimikyu for the rest of the trip, because I was convinced that we weren't going to find this guy anywhere else, but he was like at every Pokemon Center we went to afterwards. But hey, whatever. There were stickers, there were machines where you could make special coins. They had exclusive cards for all of their Gashapon games and all of their trading card games. They had a section where you could try out different video games. It was very, very cool. It was very, very cool. And this is when we learned that Japanese department store is awesome. Because on the same floor as the Pokemon Center, there was a Hello Kitty store. There was a Bandai Gashapon store, which was just like hundreds of Gashapon machines that you could go in. There was another stationery store, where we got some kick-ass stationery. There was a luggage store. There was a lot of pop-up stores promoting new animes and video games that were coming out. It was very cool. It was very cool. We also found in the first floor there was a Starbucks, and there was a like a special lemonade stand, type shop. And so we got like fancy lemonade, and then Jen got a drink from Starbucks that was like a strawberry icy frap smoothie thing. It was so red and so sweet and so delicious. It was crazy. Again, just like McDonald's hits different in Japan, the Starbucks hits different. You know, it was very upscale, very fancy. So then it was time to go to dinner. So we ended up going back to the market, and then there was this little tiny restaurant that was reservation only. It had a bar that you could sit at, and it had 2 tables. And we got to sit at one of the tables because I had a reservation, and ordered the sushi, and the sushi was delicious. It was very good sushi. It was the best sushi I had on the trip. I would say it was better than the sushi I had at the little restaurant in Mikwawa. It was certainly better than sushi I had at other restaurants throughout the trip. But was it like life-changing? Was it like the most life-changing sushi I ever had? It was not, and that actually was kind of encouraging to know that the local place near me makes sushi that is actually as good as one of the top like reservation only sushi places in a seafood town like Kanazawa. So I was actually pretty happy to discover that I had a pretty good sushi place waiting for me back home. It was mouth-watering. Every bite was divine. It was delicious. And then when all that was over, we had done our research, and we learned that even though Mikwawa was in the middle of nowhere, the train did continue to run to Mikwawa until 11 o'clock at night. So we hopped a late train back to Mikwawa and packed up to get ready for the next day. And the next day was going to involve riding on a bus, traveling to Shiragawa-go, and then to Takayama, which we will talk about next time. Now I'm going to go take some throat lozenges and some more Dayquil, and maybe get some prep done for Kingmaker, or take a nap. I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys for listening. I hope this was fun. We had a really great time in both places, Mikwawa and Kanazawa. We definitely went hard on Kanazawa. Kanazawa presented so many fun and interesting things to do that we just kept going. Looking back at how much we did every day during the trip, it was kind of mind-blowing how much we were able to pack into every single day. And I do feel like I have no regrets for that. Like, I don't regret the pace, I don't regret the amount of stuff that we did, and I'm really proud of the trip planning that actually made all of that possible. So it was good stuff. It was good stuff. Would I recommend Mikwawa and Kanazawa? I would definitely recommend Kanazawa. I don't know if I would recommend Mikwawa. Like, if you wanted to completely repeat my journey, I would definitely say stay at Mikwawa B&B for sure. Asked to go to Umi's seafood restaurant, but like maybe just focus on having fun in Kanazawa and not worry about the little fishing village. It's up to you. All right, heading out. I'll see you guys next time.